I'll start the recording. All right, here we go. 100th episode. Placing my hands on my heart. Taking in that deep cleansing breath of love and gratitude, of celebration, of compassion, of divine appreciation. So grateful for this time to come together with these beautiful souls, grateful for this opportunity to record our 100th episode of our ACIM study group, A Course in Miracles Comes to Life, starring you. We're so grateful for all of the times that we have been together and all of the times that we are able to love on each other, to be compassionate with each other, to partner up with each other, to partner up with our higher Holy Spirit self, our mighty I Am presence, our mighty companions, all of our earthly and angel help, earthly and heavenly angels and helpers. We ask that they surround and support us now, blessing this conversation, blessing everyone here, blessing all who may listen later, blessing the technology we get to use to come together each week. We're so grateful to be able to share this time together, this conversation, this prayer with each other and with everyone, because we are one with them. In grace and gratitude, we let it be and we celebrate it. And so it is. Amen. So we are in chapter 30. Section 6, the justification for forgiveness. I'm going to start us with paragraph 1. Anger is never justified. Attack has no foundation. It is here escape from fear begins and will be made complete. Here is the real world given in exchange for dreams of terror, for it is on this forgiveness rests. And it is but natural. You are not asked to offer pardon where attack is due and would be justified. For that, you would mean that you forgive a sin by overlooking what is really there. This is not pardon, for it would assume that by responding in a way which is not justified, your pardon will become the answer to attack that has been made. And thus is pardon inappropriate by being granted where it is not due. So I have to remind myself often that forgiveness means that nothing happened. Nothing wrong happened. And I had an opportunity just a few weeks ago. I was talking with a friend who we were talking about a couple years ago when I first started with my friend Valerie facilitating live drum circles. And somebody in our drum circle training Facebook group posted that they had drums for sale, used drums for sale. And I responded immediately, asking if it was possible, if they could wait until the following week when I would have the money and I would have the time to go and pick the drums up. And shortly after that, just a few hours after that, Val also posted, my friend Valerie also posted that she would like to purchase the drums. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting because we're purchasing them for the same drum circle. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. So she bought the drums. She bought the whole, it was a huge set. There was like 5 beautiful djembes and bagarabus, all beautifully carved with the goat's head skin covering, and just a beautiful set of drums for like $250, which is ridiculous because I spent like $300 on my own single drum. So it was ridiculous amount, a low amount of money to purchase all of these drums. And she basically bought them under my feet. And one of our mutual friends saw that happen on Facebook and was furious. And I said to her, it's all happening perfectly. We're still going to get to play those drums. It's not a big deal. Well, and then like about over a year ago, I had this incident happen where I have this injury. I cannot lift things that are heavy. Those drums weigh like 30 pounds a piece. So that is such a blessing that I was not able to purchase those drums because I can't carry around 5 30-pound drums. And I took some of the money that I got from my mom's estate sale and I bought a couple of travel size drums that weigh like half as much. And I can carry those around easily. So I was trying to explain to her that I had no ill will towards Val because it wasn't supposed to be. If I was supposed to have those drums, I would have had those drums. And I'm really like, I didn't need to forgive her for anything because nothing bad, nothing wrong happened. It would not have been a good thing for me to have those 5 drums hanging out at my house. So anyway, so it's just, I need to be reminded continuously sometimes that forgiveness means that nothing wrong, nothing bad happened. And there is nothing for me to forgive anyone else except for myself when I think that something bad did happen. So anyways, that's where I'm starting us off. It was a long story. I think I'm distracted by balloons and confetti. Who would like to share? Kathleen.
I've read this first paragraph so many times because Jesus is also saying you're not asked to offer pardon where attack is due and would be justified.
Right.
So if somebody's hitting us, we get to hit them back. That's not pardon. If we just like, oh, you're hitting me, it's okay, I love you. So it sounds to me like that would be the ego going, oh yes, I forgive you, and that would not be appropriate. That makes pardon inappropriate by granting where it is not due. So I was always kind of surprised when I read that. I read it about a year ago. I'm like, wow, okay. But then he goes on to say, number 2, pardon is always justified. So it's a little confusing. It could be inappropriate in the paragraph before, but it's always justified because it's talking about true pardon, where we actually see it as it never happened. It's not a situation where we are physically being attacked. That's, at least that's what I think. Is that how you see it, Linda?
Well, I feel like it can also be a situation where we are being physically attacked, where if we have the opportunity, obviously we're going to take ourselves out of that situation, because if we're allowing ourselves to be attacked, I feel like that would be creating bad karma for both myself and my brother. And at the same time, I'm not going to go to somebody that has been viciously, violently attacked and say, well, you need to forgive that person because really nothing happened, because that would just be, them's fighting words, I'm thinking. So what I'm knowing is that as I am holding for them and for myself in any moment when I feel there has been a physical assault on me, that everything is happening perfectly for my good, that I cannot really be hurt because I am not a body, I am spirit. So I don't know if that makes sense. Mark, go ahead. Mark, we can't hear you, honey. Yeah, maybe try going out and coming back in. In the meantime, go ahead, Carla.
I almost started talking before I'm muting, so I think because sometimes it may seem like I'm preaching or advising, but I'm only preaching to myself ever. That's all I'm ever doing. It's never, if it ever sounds like it's something else, it's not something else. And so once when I went to Jennifer's forgiveness workshop, she said, and it took me a while to really get this, what is forgiveness? Forgiveness is letting go of the meaning you gave them that they need forgiven. Then that the forgiveness is, it's like lesson 1 and 2. It's like I given everything the meaning, and not everything means the meaning I've given is something like that. But so that's, I was just responding to what you said. And then, but I wanted to talk about, I don't know the lines, but it's at the end of, I'll start with the end of paragraph 3. And this is all the world can ever give. It pardons sinners sometimes, but remains aware that they have sinned. And then in paragraph 4, this is the false forgiveness which the world employs to keep the sense of sin alive. And I'll do one last thing. And then I don't know what line, I can't, but it's in the middle of 4, and it says the mind. The mind must think of its creator as it looks upon itself. If you can see your brother merits pardon, what you have learned, forgiveness is your right as much as his. Now, I remember and forget every day, multiple times, because we are one. So how many teachers of God does it take to save the world? One, because there is only one. And I'm discovering that let's see if I can find it. No. Yeah, if I can get the word right. This anthropomorphize stuff. God. And what is that? Let's see. And that anthropomorphism, a long word, represents an understanding of God using human descriptors. And that is really challenging, because when we have to live in this world, we have to give meaning, money. What is money? What are the people's names? And what is all this stuff we're doing? Yet remember that not to give that same meaning to God. That's very challenging, to live as a human and forget our oneness with life, that love is all there is. And so it's very challenging to have to be in the world, is having a human experience, but remember the truth. And that is one thing I'm really getting better at. Making connections. I don't know why my mind can do that. The mind I was given, and the mind I chose, whatever, that to let go of the meaning that everyone had, most everyone, I mean, everyone, if it's not everyone, Jennifer says, if not, it's not everyone hasn't done it. It's not true, right? It's very challenging to live in this illusion and remember the truth that love is all there is. And when I give love to someone seeming else, I'm really giving it to myself because it flows through me first. So just notice, start noticing. I think I told the story about once, I'll try to keep it short, that how when I was doing Vipassana, the 1 day Vipassana at home, the first time was 2 hours, and then it was 4 hours, and it was 6 hours, and it was 8 hours. The mind was always telling me something that got me out of it, because I was letting the separate mind, the ego mind, the ego thought system, whatever you're gonna call it, the thinking that I am Carla, that I know. The one who knows is the higher self. And this actually was the 4th time I had chips because I hadn't prepared food, and I came back and my mind says, oh, you got to clean up those chips. If you don't, you're gonna stomp them all over the floor, get them all over the couch, whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, I should do that. And I listen to the mind. It seems reasonable, really, and that's where the mind sucks us in, because it seems reasonable. It seems like it's the truth. The crumbs will get smashed, the couch will get dirty, whatever. And then I did that, and then there was a crumb over there, or dust ball over there. I don't know what it was exactly. And the mind goes, oh, you need to clean that up too. That don't you want to get that too? And I'm like already caught in this rhythm of listening to the mind. And next thing you know, I took about a minute that I was cleaning the room. And I had chosen to do Vipassana. And there I listened to the mind. And that's the challenge, that to be in this world and use the mind, because that's what the ego thought system was created to help us live as a physical self, but it's been altered. We've listened to it without questioning it. I did. That's what I did. So I'm remembering to not anthropomorphize, I can't get that word right, that look at the thought. If it's not a thought of kindness, love, or if it's not a thought I think with God, I'm still practicing this to let it go. And when I did that day, probably pretty consistent, things have started shifting, because we blame ourselves. Oh, look at this, look what's happening, you know, living in a dirty, no refrigerator, whatever, all stuff, story. And then I give it meaning. Oh, that must be my mind. It must be I created this. And the higher self creates from what the mind, the lower self, whatever the body self believes, and then it gives us an opportunity, like you said to the drums, Linda, to shift into love. So it's what I'm telling myself, because I forget it every day, but I'm doing it more consistently, trusting and returning to love, which we are. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carla. Mark, you want to give it a shot, and then we'll move to Grace and Linda Kay.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
I think the microphone is broken. No, I was trying to react on Kathleen's or what she was saying about the text, and it might be that what's your name now? I get a brain freeze. Carla, that you just have maybe same sort of a reaction because I didn't hear you talking when I was doing the technical stuff. But my interpretation of this paragraph was that it's not about what's happening in the world. It's more like pardon is not what's it said? Pardon is not appropriate when you pardon in a mindset of unforgiveness. That's how I interpreted the text. So then it's not real pardon. So for me, the whole section is like the whole message of the section. What I got out of it was like don't make exceptions when you're forgiving. So that was my yeah.
Thank you, Mark. That was beautiful. I know I heard Oprah say one time something about real forgiveness is letting go of the idea that anything could have happened any way differently than it did, something to that effect.
Yes, and just the thing about the physical violence. You know, what if you look at it, if you see the person who is physically attacking you or someone else, what if you look at it as someone who has a mental illness? I believe many people would be able to react in a compassionate way when they know that someone is a psychiatric patient and is just like very upset and acting out. But so how is that different from anyone else who is acting out? It's just a faulty mental state which makes people behave like this. So if I think of it like that, it's easier to not make meaning of it and forgive.
Yeah, and knowing that I and my brother are one. So if I am seeing my brother as having mental illness, that I am the one that actually has the mental illness, because I and my brother are one, and I am not in my right mind when I so I don't know if that, I mean,
That's
you
also
really,
true.
you
Yes.
can really go down the rabbit hole with that. But yeah, thanks for that, Mark. Grace, and then Linda Kay.
Thanks, Linda. And I just wanted to second what Carla says. Sometimes when we're talking, it sounds like we're teaching, but really we're talking to ourselves because, you know, we don't know what anything is about. So your story, Linda, was great because that's happened to me a couple of times where something fell through and I was really disappointed. And then afterwards, I realized it was a good thing. A biggie for me was I was trying to buy this investment property in Las Vegas with some friends. And we were a group of three, but one of them did not feel comfortable with we were almost at signing and she backed out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'd got the money together and everything. And then afterwards, in 2008, the market fell and it would have been a disaster. So that was really a biggie for me. So what I'm trying to take in is that the world I see is an outpicturing of what is in my mind. And that's a really hard one to take on. That's the famous chapter 21 in Course in Miracles. And I'm in Laurie's group when every day we read the Course in Miracles. And we went back to chapters 21 and 22 because there was so much in it about it's me. You know, whatever I see is just a reflection of me. So if I'm judging somebody and I realize I have to do a pono for that because not good, it's reflecting what's in my own mind. And sometimes that's a little bit shocking So if I'm thinking somebody is, an example, snobbish or thinks they know everything, that's me. I think I know everything. And so that's a great way of of handling the forgiveness, because most of the time I'm not being attacked physically by anybody. I used to be attacked with by my four brothers when I was a kid. We were always fighting, but I mean, I haven't been attacked physically in forever. So it's either a verbal attack, or most of all, it's my own mind attacking me. And I really have to watch that very closely. Sometimes it's like you can be at a party talking about something and somebody disagrees with you. Well, bring it on. You know, I usually just like, yeah, you're probably right. And that's it. It's dead. It's dead. And it's so funny because people sometimes then go, oh no, you're probably right. And so then we start an argument about who's right, which is fantastic, you know. And I usually say, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to say you're probably right, you know. And it's a great peacemaker. And I think that's, so in chapter 21, section 2, damnation is your judgment on yourself, and this you will project upon the world. See it as damned, and all you see is what you did to hurt the Son of God. If you behold disaster and catastrophe, you try to crucify him. If you see holiness and hope, you join the will of God to set him free. There's no choice that lies between these two decisions. And you will see the witness to the choice you make and learn from this to recognize which one you chose. The world you see but shows you how much joy you have allowed yourself to see in you and to accept as yours. And if this is its meaning, then the power to give joy must lie within you. Anyway, if you get the chance to read chapter 21, it's great. And thanks for listening, and congratulations everybody on 100 recordings. Yay!
Thank you, Grace. Yeah, I love that. You're probably right. I mean, that it like completely diffuses, and it brought to mind again that vision of the movie Michael with John Travolta, where he's fighting the bull. He's so excited to get into a battle. He's so excited about it. And sometimes we just want a good fight, and you know. So you're probably right. Like, oh man, I was so ready for that fight.
People just do not expect it.
Exactly.
And then they end up agreeing with you in the end. I always feel, you know, people are good. They're really good. They don't really mean anything. They might just have a different point of view, but that's fine. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Linda.
Grace. Linda Kay, and then Gwen.
Okay, good morning. I think everyone must think I live in a robe. I'm always on camera in my robe.
It's early there.
Well, I've been up for hours actually, but I ran out of time to jump in the shower. And I said, oh, instead of being late, I'd rather just be in my robe. So if you don't mind, if I could just read something very brief. I have a book called A Course in Miracles Made Easy by Alan Cohen, Mastering the Journey from Fear to Love. So I got this book to help me better understand the Course in Miracles book, because I'm still a baby in all of these teachings. So I'm 1 year into this work, and you know how, like, the more you learn, the less you know. So I'm really up to that right now, not against that, but to that. So this is very brief, but then it'll explain my question. The topic's called Where Real Magic Lives. Magic, according to A Course in Miracles, is the belief that an object outside of yourself has the power to heal you or hurt you, that the environment, rather than our thoughts, is the source of our experience. Yet we are told, you believe you are sustained by everything but God. Your faith is placed in the most trivial and insane symbols: pills, money, protective clothing, influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the right people, and an endless list of forms of nothingness that you endow with magical powers. All these things are your replacements for the love of God. And I don't even know how to read what chapter verse, but that is from the book. And so the thing that I've been wondering a lot recently is I pray almost nightly with my prayer partner, Rodney, who is just a prayer master. He's beautiful. And the focus of the prayers are primarily gratitude versus the God, the vending machine. I was raised Catholic and Protestant simultaneously. So I got a big guy in the sky with the beard, I've got all those symbols. And then I also spent many years running around fundamentalist Pentecostal circles. So then I got Jesus. I went to Peru and I saw more suffering Jesus statues than I could take in for a lifetime. And I was asking my husband, where's Happy Jesus? I grew up with Happy Jesus because this was a Methodist church with the kids, little preschool kiddie thing. And Jesus was with lambs and animals, and he was our friend. That's the idea I got in my head. So I like this guy Jesus because I can talk to Jesus. But when I pray, I no longer know now what am I praying to, because I have God within me, and yet there's Yosemite and Niagara Falls and the giant sequoias and great mystery as seen by the native indigenous people, and Great Spirit as seen by people like Venerable. And so if someone could help me with that's a real baby question. Yet now I'm actually really confused. Is it God like flowing in me and then circulating outside of me and then going through the rocks at Yosemite and into the trees and then flowing back into me? I'm confused. I could
That's
use some help.
that's a perfect visualization, Linda, because we are one with God. We are not a part of God. We are one with God. So God does flow in, through, and around me. And everything that I see is made up by my mind. So God didn't create any of that. But because I am God, because God is me, I'm one with God. God is in everything I see. So as far as the magic thing, like, I know because in the past I have dealt with depression and anxiety, and currently I'm dealing with high blood pressure and diabetes. I take the pills. I know it's magic. My mind knows that it's magic. My heart knows that it's magic. Most of my being knows that I am not a body, but I am not going to stop taking the pills until I can come to a place where I don't need them anymore. So right now I appear to need them because.
Right. But Linda, may I ask a question?
Sure.
So something as simple as the example, I mean, yeah, he did say pills magic. Something as simple as the pills as an example, I think of that as the intention. What is the intention? Right. If you think they will save you, that the pills are your savior, then probably not the way that we're trying to learn this material. If we're taking the pills, so Many of you know I have been in the past particularly challenged with mental illness, and things have improved immensely in the last year that I've been doing this work. And if I speak to a bipolar buddy, they don't even know how to accept the idea of not being bipolar. Betty was the one who introduced me to the idea of, you're not bipolar, you're whole, complete, and healed.
Yes.
The pills are a tool for the healing, not your savior. You'll know when to use them and not to use them. I don't think of them as magic. I actually take some medication for my brain, but I take significantly less medication than what would be appropriate for a person who's supposedly bipolar. I
Yeah.
take only one thing for my brain. That's it. And that's just
Yeah.
not even acceptable. But guess what? The only thing wrong with my mind are my thoughts. So if
Exactly.
I was suicidal for one day within the last 2 weeks, that's the first time that I've ever had a one-day episode. It was 3 days total, but just one day of this suicidal ideation. The way I was thinking, it was the meaning I made of things.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a biochemical event. I think I stacked a whole bunch of triggers up on top of each other, and then I lost my connection with God in my mind. God's
Yeah.
always there, but in my mind, I thought, I can't access God. Where's my guy with the beard in the sky? Where's the God that's residing in me? Where's the God that flows? I don't know. Can't feel God.
Yeah. We do that to ourselves, and it's okay. It's part of our experience. It's part of our learning experience. It's part of what we would like to experience in this human form. It's, it's why we separated to begin with. It's just like the battle that I was talking with Grace about at the beginning. We signed up for this exactly as it is. And yes, it is in our mind. And yes, it is all because of our mind. But if I appear to break my leg in this human existence, I'm going to use a crutch. So that's how I look at it. Until I don't need that crutch anymore, I'm going to use it. And that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I do want to say one thing to Mark, because he did mention about people with mental illness and maybe they're shouting, or a way I would explain it to other people after having lived this for nearly 20 years is it's more like a spectrum disorder. Like autism is on a spectrum. I personally now believe that bipolar and mental illness, they're just on a spectrum. So sometimes the volume is turned up, way up, and it's way too loud and jarring. And that's how a person's experiencing things. And then other times the volume goes down, or maybe my volume went down recently where I could no longer feel connection. Everything got turned down a certain way, turned up in intensity, turned down, who knows, but that's a simple way I like to explain it to people. Is most people are living in this place, and the people with the mental illness are out here and they're over there, but they also can be here at times. They're just having a little trouble in these other ranges.
Yeah.
But that idea of the God and the rocks and the in me and around me and through me, is that a way that makes sense to think of it?
Yeah, because God is in everything I see, because everything I see is in my mind, and God is in me because I am in God. Yeah.
Kind of a good question for Celebration Day.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Absolutely is.
All right. Well, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you,
Appreciate
Linda.
it. Thank you.
So I'm going to go Gwen, and then Carla, and then Mark, and then Kathleen, and then Mary Lee. Let's see if I can remember that. Go ahead, Gwen. Thank you, Linda.
So it's nice to be back. My computer was fried and I was away on vacation. So, And I can resonate so much with what everyone's saying. And I was just thinking when Linda was talking, you know, we have this view of God as an old man in heaven with this beard. But it reminds me of what George Carlin's view, you know, but then of course God loves us, but then we, you know, we're punished by, you know, forever in purgatory burning. Doesn't kind of make sense, but the whole passage about forgiveness reminded me, I just had an experience of kind of really putting some of this into practice. My sister was here for 3 weeks with me on vacation, and we really bumped up against, you know, belief systems. And I'll just say, you know, we all have been indoctrinated in different ways in our lives with our upbringing, and I'm certainly one of those. And I would certainly say religion can be dangerous to your health, but so we really had time to talk, and I shared some things. I just said, you know, I'm choosing a different way of living, a different way of being. And some of what I shared, because of what I know her belief system is, I knew ruffled feathers and was like, you know, not acceptable perhaps. But my intention was to do something on a small scale that can affect others. I know from consciousness work I've done for many, many years, as all of us are doing with this, that we're doing, whatever it is, any prayer, any meditation, any visualization, any affirmation, any work we do is never for just ourselves. I have that confirmed through something that I experienced, that issue is just not mine alone. And all these people, you know, appeared before me. This affects a lot of people. And I personally feel really empowered lately thinking about this, that I can take. So in my case, you know, here is a family member, we have some different beliefs that are bumping up. And I was able to, just through talking and sharing and remembering this perspective, you know, what I see out there is a reflection of what is within, and wanting to create more of a bridge for love and understanding and acceptance that isn't just for me to have, but I do that taking this on a larger level. I take everything I do as a reflection that this will radiate and trickle and ripple out. And I think this is something really good for us all to be reminded, whatever work we're doing in this way doesn't just help us singularly, but helps. I feel like what we do is helping to create peace and harmony within us, as well as in the whole world. So this was a great section, and I was really happy to have that experience. And of course, always thank you, everybody, for what you share. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Gwen. I'm glad you're back. Carla, Mark, Kathleen, Mary Lee.
Help me share in a clear way. So the thing that came in my mind whenever you guys were sharing was that there is only God. There is only love. God is love. This is why I kind of put the if there is any love and God is love, then there is only God. And it seems like I'm not. I'm telling myself that. And look at what I wanted to share. Really was paragraph 8, the first line. Look on your brother with the willingness to see him as he is. So it's seeing yourself, you know, because we're one, see him as yourself. I can go into the appearance. I don't know, he hasn't paid me yet. August hasn't here yet, but looks like my renter hasn't paid me for 2 months, and this will be the 3rd month. Now, he did get renter assistance, but it didn't get to me. The check went someplace else and I was lost. They're gonna take 45 days to replace it. It's a long story. But here's the key. It's not what's happening to me. It's about how I respond to what is happening to me. That's where I get to choose. And so I am willing to look on this experience, look upon myself, look upon my brother with willingness, because I was told, and I think I've shared this before, but I'll share it again. Your healing is only limited by your willingness. So grow your willingness until you are fully healed. I don't seem willing sometimes, but I am willing. This is my favorite. I think I shared this with you, Linda, and you, that I'm willing to consider what I thought was impossible is possible. So I'm willing. Everything begins with willingness. It's not perfect love, which is the atonement, and it's fine. I'm willing to go there. I'm willing to travel this journey, whatever it is, of choices, of experiences, of choosing my response. I'm willing to do that. I'm so willing to do that. And that's where I'm growing my willingness. Something seems bad or wrong. I'm just willing to see not it with love, because they get to choose whatever they want to choose. I'm willing to see myself with that love. And then I respond. And if I can see myself with love, I respond differently. And I respond as God created me. They, whatever they is, the appearance of something separate, they can choose whatever they choose. Do I want to join them in what they chose, or choose for myself, choose from my wellness, choose from the love that I am? Everything starts with wellness. Don't worry about what you chose 5 minutes ago, or 10 lifetimes ago, or a decade ago. There's only now. Choose now. And I forget it every day, hundreds of times, but I'm getting there. And if I'm getting there, you're getting there. We're all growing into our truth. Thanks.
Thank you, Carla. Mark, Kathleen, then Mary Lee, and let's just keep in mind we have 10 minutes left and we need to have champagne at the end.
Yeah. In the beginning of the session, I said to myself, no, I'm not going to share, because then it's about me, and now I think, no, that was an ego thought. So no, I need to share a little bit, because there's so much going on in my interior life. Is so much healing going on. The willingness has become such a strong desire for God, and I feel it, like the energy rushing through my body and like healing the different chakras, and it's so I feel so grateful, and I found and there are so many synchronicities. Like, just for an example, I rarely read the newspaper, but then I opened the newspaper app, and then the first article I saw was about Iceman. Do you know Iceman? That's a Dutch guy who is bathing in ice water as his life well, so he's teaching people how to do that, and for me it was okay, maybe I should do it. And I'm doing like cold showers every morning, and it wakes me up, like, because if you're standing in a cold shower, if you don't want to shiver, you gotta be in the here and now, and you actually stop shivering if you're totally aware. So that wakes me up, and I got onto the teaching of Nisargadatta, which I mentioned last week, which is so simple. It's just put your attention on the sense I am, the sense feeling I am. So put your attention all the time back towards yourself, and that has really shifted my whole awareness, and it makes me aware of the ego things that are coming up much more, so that I don't, well, I do like cling on to it, but it's much shorter and much faster, that I feel like, oh, now I drifted, and oops, I did it again, and then and it's like a lot of it really like dissolves. So oh, it's so such a powerful thing. If you really, I don't know, I hope you also uh, just try it, just putting your, but I don't know if it might not be your path. I think there are many paths, and you shouldn't judge which path we are on. It's because we're gonna end up in the same place, all of us. Yeah. So but it's really yeah, I don't know where this is going. Yeah.
It's going home. That's where we're all headed, buddy.
Yeah, it is. Oh, and then on the outside world, there are some challenges, because we as a family, we decided to move back to the southern part of Sweden. We're living in the middle part now, and so I quit my job, and I was planning to I couldn't didn't have a job at the place where I worked before. I work as I'm a medical doctor, and I work in palliative care. And so I worked at the palliative care unit here, and before in the same place where we are going back, but they didn't have a job there. So we were planning, like, I was gonna work as a, how do you say, a freelance doctor.
Mhm.
And all the way from that decision on, it didn't feel right. It felt like it was going back to, well, it was like I was just doing it for the money, because I mean, of course we need money, but so it was a decision made on fear based. And so today I made the decision not to. I had almost signed the contract, and I made a decision not to sign the contract. And because I feel like there's a feeling, a sense, like there is something higher that might be coming up. And but it was a little bit scary, because now I mean, we're gonna move in less than 2 months. So we'll see where this is happening, and it's also led to my wife is she freaked out, but she calmed down as well. And so yeah, ah, that's enough, I guess.
Practicing radical trust.
It's, yeah, it is.
Good.
So to be continued.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see where
Well,
this
just
leads.
holding that all is well for you and your family.
All is well. I'm so convinced of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have very much faith.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so
Mm.
much. Kathleen, Mary Lee, and then Champagne Grace.
Well, just real quick, there is still a hierarchy. We still can pray to God. It can feel very awkward and weird to think that suddenly I'm God and there's no one to pray to. So, I mean, consistently God says God's son is perfect, or he cannot be God's son. We are God's son. We are the Christ consciousness. There's still God to pray to. So it's a little confusing for the mind, but you don't want to suddenly feel like there's no one to pray to. That feels awful. So using the Holy Spirit, we can still pray to God. That's all I wanted to say.
Absolutely. It's our anchor to keep us centered. Thank you, Kathleen. Mary Lee.
Well, I'll be brief also. Basically, Linda, when you were talking about when you need the crutch, and if you're trying to walk across the room, and that, you know, there can be the mindset, oh, I should be above this crutch. I should be above needing this. Well, having worked as a nurse at the bedside for 45 years, why do we so often feel like we have to take, we say, oh, God's everywhere. Oh, but wasn't God in the people that developed pills for different remedies and pills to treat different things? Is suddenly God eliminated from that? That, you know, if you have a headache, oh, I shouldn't be having a headache, or I shouldn't need anything for a headache. I feel that too often we can put God outside of some wonderful ways in which she has been there to help us as humanity, as people. We still have this physical body that is, you can say it's perfect, but it's not perfect. And if we need that crutch, we should be very, very grateful for it, that God worked through someone else that has given us something to help us in this lifetime and on earth here. So that was just something that came to me.
Yeah, absolutely, Mary Lee. I believe 100%. I mean, it's just to say that if in our mind, we really could 100% have that trust and faith that we do not need anything outside of ourselves, then we wouldn't. But at the same time, there is no shame in using the pills and using the crutch and using whatever it is that we're using, until we get to the point where we really do have 100% belief that we are not a body and that this body does not need anything. Like Kathleen was saying, as long as I want to be Linda, as long as I want to be the personality Linda living in this human existence, I'm, you know, when those things come up, I'm going to need the crutch, and that's okay. Beautiful.
Yeah, we don't need to change anything in the world. We just need to withdraw our belief of the reality of the world and of the body. So
Exactly.
I totally agree with you, Mary Lee, on that point. So
Yeah.
a good point.
Yeah, thank you for the point.
Can I say one really quick thing?
Oh,
The
well,
answer to this is about the magic and the whole and using it and not using it. I cannot find it's in the book. It's in the book. It's at the top of a page. I cannot find it, but it answers this whole thing.
when you find it, post it in our WhatsApp group. Nancy.
Okay, don't hold your breath, but I'll keep looking.
You can search on the
Thank you.
webpage acim.org, and there is a search option where you can just put any amounts of any words, and if they those words appear in the same sentence, then you will find.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Champagne, Grace, bring us home, honey.
Okay, you can feel free to laugh at this, but I don't drink. I've used this bottle for like 10 parties on Zoom so far. But I have the sound of champagne popping. Wait.
Oh, here we go.
I hope you can hear it.
Yay. So thank you, everybody, for your participation in our 100th episode. I will drink to that.
Thank you, everybody.
My liver smoothie. Next week, we will continue chapter 30, section 7, the new interpretation. And I will mention that I am considering within the next few months, possibly doing a group counseling on a Saturday or a Sunday morning. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it weekly or monthly or what yet, but just keep that in mind and hold that for me, because I'm not sure. I'm kind of floaty right now, in between letting go of some old things and allowing the energy of new things to pop up. So thank you. Gonna end us with the Pathways of Light Insights for lesson number 207, which is a review of I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I bless the world because I bless myself. The words that stand out to me in this lesson are: accept God's boundless love for me. This world is an attempt to limit God's love. Bodies were made to separate off parts of God into isolated individual segments, which do not share all of God's love. The separate identities we call bodies cannot know boundless love because the bodies themselves are boundaries. Isn't that appropriate for what we're just talking about? To be boundless is to be united with all. It is to be one. Identifying with the body automatically brings with it a belief in being unworthy of all God's boundless love. As I am able to accept more of God's boundless love, I bless the world because I bless myself. It is not God who limits love. It is simply my mistaken belief in an image of myself that could never be true or real. The Course is teaching me how to forgive myself for having made up this image and let it go. As I let go of the false image, I open my heart to recognize the presence of God that never left. God is truly in everything I see. God's presence has nothing to do with form. God is in everything I see because God is boundless and is therefore everywhere. To experience this, I must let go of all meanings I have given forms. These meanings interfere with Christ's vision, which sees God's love everywhere. Holy Spirit, help me bless myself today by helping me let go of the false meanings and images I have made in this world, so I may see the light of God where it is, which is everywhere. Thus, I will bless the world because I bless myself. God, love, abides in my heart. Love abides in everyone's heart. This is what is real. For me to recognize this is to bless myself and my brother. I need but turn to love, and I will see this is true. As I turn to love, the false concepts of bodies and differences fall away. As I turn to love, my belief in weakness and separation from God falls away. As I turn to love, I see my innate strength. I feel God's love because God's love is continuous. It is everywhere. The false images disappear in the ever expanding extension of God's love. Opening to this truth is blessing the world and blessing myself. Thank you, everybody. Much love. See you next week.
Bye.
Thank you, Linda.
Woo! Oh!
Thank you, everybody. Great.
Everybody, bye for now.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.